On the night of February 15th, while Hindus across the world observed Maha Shivaratri, the most sacred night dedicated to Bhagavan Paramashiva, something unconscionable happened in a small village in Karnataka. In Shingatalur, Gadag District, unknown miscreants entered the ancient Sri Ramalingeshwara Temple. They did not come to steal. They did not come for valuables. They came with one intent: to desecrate. The Shivlinga, the eternal cosmic form of Paramashiva, was struck and broken. The Nandi deity, the faithful guardian and the vehicle of Paramashiva, was smashed at the threshold. The goddess Honatemava Murti, embodiment of the Divine Mother, was disfigured. This was discovered at dawn. The same devotees who had lovingly cleaned, painted and adorned the temple just hours before Shivaratri celebrations and arrived for Mangalam Arti. What greeted them was devastation. Today, we examine why this is not just vandalism. This is a calculated assault on Hindu civilizational consciousness, and the timing on Maha Shivaratri itself reveals calculated intent, not coincidence. Let me give you the details. On Saturday, February 14th, villagers prepared the Sri Ramalingeshwara Temple with devotion. They applied fresh lime, painted the walls, and hung decorations made of leaves. The temple sits on the banks of the Tungabhadra river, an ancient sacred site. Saturday night, after preparations, the priests closed the temple and went home. When they returned on Sunday morning, February 15, they found that the main Shivlinga in the Sanctum Sanctorum was struck and broken. The Nandi deity's face was smashed. The water bowl of the Ramalingeshwara Linga was damaged. The Hotate Mava deity idol was desecrated. And according to local reports, miscreants struck in the night when the temples are typically unguarded due to fear of wild animals in the area. An FIR was registered. Police investigation is underway. The Gadag Superintendent of Police formed teams. But here's what's alarming. This is not an isolated incident. Within days, 2 more temples in Gadag District were targeted. A Shivlinga in Mallikarjunapur was defaced. The goddess Mariamma deity near Adrahalli village in Lakshmeshwar Taluk was painted with black ink and physically damaged. Before this, in July 2025, Ganesha and Naga deities were desecrated in Shivamoga's Ragiguda locality, also in Karnataka. Do you see the pattern? Now, let's talk statistics, because when you look at the data, the pattern becomes undeniable. According to the comprehensive report published by the Hindu Phobia Tracker, a research organization that documents anti-Hindu incidents globally, there have been 789 documented cases of attacks on Hindu religious representations across multiple countries in the recent years. Let me break down this for you. If we look at India, there have been 615 incidents in the modern day in the recent years, and that's 78.7% of the global total. In Bangladesh, 112 incidents. In Canada, 11 incidents. United States, 12 incidents. And Pakistan, 10 incidents. Now, let us look at the attacks, the type of attacks. Desecration of Hindu religious symbols. There were 421 incidents globally. Direct attacks on temples, 362 incidents. And now let us focus on India. Of those 615 incidents, 332 cases were desecration. 242 cases were temple attacks. And if we look at the state-wise breakdown in India, Uttar Pradesh leads with 169 cases, where 79 desecration incidents and 55 temple attacks, 38 cases of ritual disruption. In West Bengal, 65 cases, where 41 of those are desecrations and 31 are temple attacks. In Madhya Pradesh, 66 cases, where 28 are desecrations and 23 are temple attacks. And if we look at Bihar, symbolic targeting, do you notice something here? Karnataka shows a pattern of symbolic violence rather than structural damage. The perpetrators know exactly what they are targeting, the sacred symbols themselves. Now let me explain why calling this random vandalism is intellectually dishonest. First, the selection of targets. The attackers don't break into shops, they don't damage government property, they specifically choose temples, Shivlingas, murtis and sacred objects, objects that hold no material value but immense spiritual significance. And second, the timing. The Shingatalur attack happened on Maha Shivaratri night, the holiest night in the Hindu calendar. And this is when Hindus perform night-long vigils, chant Rudra mantras and offer bilwa leaves. To desecrate a Shiva temple and a Shivlinga on this night is deliberate provocation. And third, the report published in academic journals on religious violence shows that desecration of sacred spaces creates trauma that extends of religion and violence, demonstrates that attacks in places of worship generate collective shock, generational psychological impact. These are hate crimes, not simple vandalism. They meet every criterion used by legal frameworks globally to identify bias-motivated offenses. And this is not new. Sanatan Hindu Dharma has endured systematic persecution for over a millennia. And let me give you documented history. Let us look at the medieval Islamic invasions, for example. According to historical records and archaeological evidence, Mahmud of Ghazni destroyed the Somnath temple multiple times. Qutb-ud-Din Aibak destroyed 1,000 temples, Hindu temples in Kashi, in Varanasi alone. Aurangzeb demolished at least 14 temple. It was destroyed and the Gwanvapi mosque was built on its ruins. The Krishna Janmabhoomi temple in Mathura also demolished and replaced with the Shahi Idgah, the Ram Janmabhoomi in Ayodhya, the same story. Nalanda University, the world's first residential university, was a beacon of historical accounts say that the library burned for 3 months continuously. Over 6 million Hindu scriptures were lost forever. And now let us look at the British colonial period. The persecution continued under different guise. The Criminal Tribes Act of 1871 labeled Hindu sadhus and ascetics, Hindu sannyasis, as criminals by nature. The Religious Endowment Act of 1863 brought temples under state control, stripping them of autonomy. British administrators interfered in temple management, priestly appointments, and even ritual protocols. Colonial officers looted Hindu temples' sculptures. Many now sit in the British museums till date. And even after 1947, post-independence, persecution continues. The Hindu Religious and Charitable Endowment Acts, or the HRNCE department, seizes Hindu temple revenues. The state interferes in spiritual succession. In 2020, the Kashi Sarvanepita temple at Manikarnika Ghat was illegally demolished. The pattern is clear. For 2 millennia, Hindu sacred spaces have been systematically targeted. The Shingatalur incident is just the latest chapter in an ancient wound. Now let us discuss the core question: why does this matter so much? In Sanatana Hindu Dharma, temples are not mere buildings, they are living cosmic systems. According to the Agamas, the ancient scriptural Hindu texts that govern the temple construction and worship, a Hindu temple is a geometric energy field built according to the Vastu Shastra and the Shilpa Shastra, sciences of sacred architecture. The temple is designed as a geometric yantra to channel cosmic energies. Every measurement, every proportion, every direction is calculated to create a field that elevates consciousness. A temple is a consecrated living presence through prana pratishta, the ritual of installing life force, where a deity becomes a conductor of divine energy. This is not symbolism, that is spiritual technology, ancient Hindu science. The murti becomes a transformative interface between the formless divine and a devotee's consciousness. A deity, a temple, is the Shivlinga, the cosmic pillar. The Shivlinga is not a sculpture, it represents the formless, infinite, taking bounded form. It represents the cosmic pillar of light and the union of Shiva and Shakti. It represents the generative principle of all existence. So when you strike a Shivlinga, you're not breaking stone, you are attacking a civilization's understanding of cosmic order itself. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, has revived this sacred science through the revival of KAILASA, the world's first Hindu nation, sovereign Hindu nation. Through the Sacred Arts University, over 1 million deities have been created using authentic academic processes, agamic processes, and distributed to ecosystems worldwide. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, teaches that the temples are not places of worship alone. They are enlightened ecosystems, places where the science of manifestation, power manifestation, the science of the third eye awakening and superconscious breakthrough happen, where humans transcend mechanical existence and experience living divinity. And this is why temple desecration is civilizational violence. You are not just breaking objects, you are severing a civilization's connection to its spiritual technology. And this brings us to the question, what is the solution? The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, has given the answer. KAILASA, the United States of KAILASA. KAILASA is not a dream. It is a juridical reality. It is the revival of the ancient enlightened Sanatana Hindu civilizational nation. It is the first sovereign state for the world's 2 billion Hindus, and it is revived by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, who holds the unbroken lineage of 21 ancient Hindu kingdoms. And why is KAILASA necessary? It is because Hindu sacred spaces cannot depend on secular governments for protection, because when temples are desecrated on Maha Shivaratri and the response is a routine FIR, it proves that Hindu spiritual sovereignty has been lost. KAILASA operates on a different principle, dharmic governance guided by the Agamas as constitution and Dharma Shastras as jurisprudence. This is what civilizational protection looks like. So where does this leave us? The Shingatalur desecration is a wake-up call, not just about law and order, but about Hindu civilizational self-awareness. And here are the truths, the hard truths. These attacks will continue as long as Hindu sacred spaces remain unprotected by the authorities. Secular systems that treat temples as real estate, dharmic systems treat them as living civilizational arteries. Hindus need self-determined protection. The pattern shows attacks happen in regions where Hindu demographics or political strength is weak. Where Hindu consciousness is fragmented, attacks increase. KAILASA represents the future, a sovereign spiritual nation where Hindu identity, Hindu sacred spaces and dharmic governance are protected by inherent civilizational authority. And what must Hindus do? Document everything, every desecration, every attack. Support organizations that create evidence-based records and defend dharma. Demand accountability, not just arrests, convictions, not just FIRs, fast-track trials. Make temple desecration a non-bailable offense. Strengthen temple security, CCTV systems, night guards, community watch programs. Make temples hard targets. And support KAILASA. Engage with the Hindu civilizational nation that is building infrastructure for protection and preservation of Sanatan Hindu Dharma. So let me end with this. When the Shivlinga at Sri Ramalingeshwara Temple was struck on Maha Shivaratri night, it wasn't just Shingatalur that felt the blow. Every practicing Hindu felt it. For over 2,000 years, Hindu civilization has survived invasions, genocide, cultural erasure, temple destructions, and yet we're still here. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, teaches us that survival is not enough. Revival is the goal, and that is what KAILASA represents. Not a reaction to persecution, but a resurrection, the revival of a spiritual sovereignty. The attack on Sri Ramalingeshwara Temple is a reminder, a civilization that cannot protect its sacred symbols, its deities, is not merely endangered, it is in crisis. But a civilization that responds with awakened consciousness, organized action, and dharmic governance, that civilization is eternal. Thank you for watching and be blissful.